I highly invite Jorgen Stensland from Film&Kino, Norway, to make his presentation about building safe screenings through cinema distributor collaboration. Warm welcome for Jorgen.
Okay, is this all right? Yep. Thanks. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Thanks, Joanna, for inviting me. I met her at a EU conference in Lithuania a couple of years ago, and she spoke at our conference, the Norwegian Cinema Conference. And now then I'm invited back here, so I don't know what we'll do next year. I don't know. Today we are going to talk about Relæxt. I know that there are several countries that has Relæxt schemes as well. I know that in France they've been doing it for 20 years or so. In England for 10 years or so. I think the reason that I was invited is that they wanted to hear a little bit more about the cooperation that we have with the distributors. I work for Film&Kino, which is an organization for the cinemas in Norway, the Norwegian Cinema Association, and we have been around since 1917. I have not been around that long, even though I might look that. Relæxt is probably the largest cultural collaboration in Norway at the time. It's a collective effort by the cultural sector to strengthen inclusion, openness, and access to cultural experiences. In this presentation, I will focus on the cinema part of the Relæxt initiative. We'll show how cinemas across the country are working together to open the doors to audiences who, for various reasons, have largely been absent from cultural life. So this is not just about accessibility. It's about rethinking who culture is for and how we design our cultural experiences. So this is a picture of Tromsø. And the reason why we have a picture of Tromsø is that it's the biggest Norwegian city north of the polar circle. And this is where the Relæxt movement started in Norway. Unfortunately, my colleague Ulrikke Benestad, who was supposed to be here, couldn't join us, and she's the heart and soul of this campaign. So that's not fortunate, but still, it was in Tromsø it started. She works at the Arctic Symphonic Orchestra, and it started with concerts, and then theater, and then cinema. And in a very short time, all of the cultural providers in Tromsø were having Relæxt screenings or shows. So when we talk about Relæxt, we always start with values. But it's delivered in the cinemas. We have to do something about the screening rooms, of course. The lighting in the auditorium is dimmed, but never completely turned off. Hosts are present in the auditorium to assist anyone who needs to leave in a hurry. Sound levels are adjusted during the highest or loudest peaks. And there are visual guide and information about potential triggers sent out to the patrons before the screenings. And it's the most important thing is it's a no shush zone. That means you're not allowed to shush on anyone except for the ones in the group you came together with. To make, hold on, let's see. To make Relæxt work beyond cultural institutions, we needed to test the model in cinemas. First of all, last year we presented all Relæxt for all our regional seminars. In Film&Kino, we have 7 regional seminars. Tromsø for Northern Norway, Trondheim for Middle Norway, Bergen for Western Norway, Stavanger for the Southwest region, Drammen for the southeastern part, the area around Oslo, and Hamar for the inland region of South Norway. We also talked about it to the cinemas during the Norwegian Film Festival in Haugesund. At the same time, we developed a pilot in collaboration with commercial cinemas in 3 cities. These cinemas operate with a higher pace, with more screenings and a constant flow of new films. Unlike theaters and orchestras, they do not own the content themselves. The distributors own the content. So we are dependent on the film distributors. So we needed to bring the film distributors into the picture as well, working together with local distributing partners such as Disney. We developed a shared guide for how Relæxt can be implemented in commercial cinema settings. The pilot showed that the model can't only be possible in institutions with strong cultural and artistic autonomy, but also in large commercial structures. This is crucial to reach a broader audience and not remain a niche initiative. Relæxt started, as I talked about, as a small initiative with 5 partners in Tromsø, and have in a few years developed to a national model with more than 50 cultural organizations across the country using the Relæxt model. Not only the number is important, but also the diversity of cultural offers. So it's implemented in cinemas, theaters, and concert venues, and across geographical regions, which is important in Norway because we're a very elongated country. As you saw from the map earlier, it's actually the distance from Oslo to the North Cape, Europe's northernmost point, is the same as the distance from Oslo to Rome. So accessibility cannot be solved through short time measures and isolated projects. It takes long-term commitment and shared responsibility across the cultural sector. The film distributors have been very positive in regard to the Relæxt screenings. They are developing their part of the guide that is sent out to the customers after they buy the tickets. And you can find these guides on our media server, which is something that Norwegian distributors have established so that the cinemas can download trailers and commercial material. But we also have the guides there. The guides are twofold. The first part is made by the cinema and it's about how to get to the cinema by bus, by tram, by subway, by car, by bike, by skis. It's about what to expect when they walk into the cinema, into the foyer and entrance, where the bathrooms are, where the elevators are, escalators and stairs are. It talks about that there will be friendly people they can talk to and ask questions. How they can change seats or find seats more suitable for them. The location of a quiet room if you need to withdraw for a minute. Pictures of the screening rooms and the interior of the cinema so that they know what to expect during the visit. Also that there will be other guests and how they can talk to one of the employees in the screening room, because there will always be employees in the screening rooms during the Relæxt screenings. Then the distributors make part of the guide coming, which is about the content. Information about the film, the genre, the spoken language, the subtitles, the playtime, director, country and year of origin, and some of the characters are presented, and a short summary of the content with images from the film. So we have every semester we pick 10 titles from the distributors through a programming group from the cinemas, and these are usually the ones used by the cinemas. But the distributors themselves have started to make guides for Relæxt and are actively trying to get them to the cinemas. And then we have the cooperation between us and the distributors. I know that in some countries it's not always so easy to cooperate. Sometimes because it's more than one cinema organization and more than one distributor organizations, if there are any organization for the distributors at all. In Norway, we have worked together for a long time. We have film meets since the 1970s, where we invite the heads of cinemas and the programmers to come and see movies that are not yet in the cinemas. We have the report server, which is built early in the internet age, where all the cinemas have to report the numbers every day, which we own together with the Norwegian Distributors Union. And we have market campaigns. The Big Cinema Day, which was first launched in 1987, and the School Cinema Day, which has been around for about 25 years. We have general campaigns like First in Cinemas, Biggest in Cinemas, that are actually going on now. And we do lobbying efforts together towards the authorities. There was some skepticism from the distributors in the beginning. They were afraid it would be too much work, and if the tickets had to be discounted. To answer those, no, it's not too much work. It's actually not much work at all. And secondly, there's no discount because our patrons that are in need of these types of screenings, they just want to be looked upon as a normal spectator. So they want to pay for the experience. We then met up with all of the distributors in a digital meeting and discussed explained to them what it is and how they can be a part of it. And all the distributors wanted to be a part of this. There were no reservations from them. As I told you, they produced the guides, part of the guides for each film, and shares all the material. Now, this is quite early. It's going fast, but it's quite early for the cinemas. So we've only done this about a little over a year. So the next phase in our project is that we applied and got money from the Norwegian Film Institute to have a campaign, not directed at the public, but directed at the cinemas. So the Norwegian cinema landscape is quite small compared to Poland, I guess, and other countries. There are only 200 different cinema businesses, and two of them, Odeon and Nordisk from Denmark, has about 65% of the box office. So the other 198 cinemas are not so big. Some of them are run by local organizations, like one of our newest members, who is West Senja. It's an island in northern Norway. West Senja Sports Club. They run a cinema and has 1 or 2 screenings every Sunday. So, as you can imagine, it's quite easy to get the bigger cinemas to get aboard, and also some of the middle cinemas. And it's harder to get all the, I don't know, 80 or so cinemas which are really small in the boondocks, where if it's a municipal cinemas, which most of the cinemas in Norway are still municipal, they have people working in the cinemas have the job in the cinema just as a minute percentage, like a 10% of their position in the municipality. So it's important to get everyone along with this, because it's very important, we believe, to get these audiences, which it is the right to go to. In Norway, by law, we have to accommodate audiences that have special needs to come and see the movies, and it hasn't been done properly until now. Well, some cinemas have done it, of course, on their own behalf, but there hasn't been a unified project from the cinemas and from the distributors. And of course, also the authorities love this. And actually, Ulrike was earlier today in meetings with the Cultural Committee in the Norwegian Parliament. So it's anchored from top to bottom, and we hope that I can come back sometime and talk about how it's gone in maybe 2 years, and hopefully we'll have Relæxt screenings in all the Norwegian cinemas, even the smallest ones in the boondock somewhere in the fjord. Thank you. Are we taking questions, or?
We will take questions after all the presentations.
Okay.
I will invite you all three here, so you'll be back, no worries. Okay, so thank you, Jorgen, very much again. And the next presentation will be in Polish, so it's last minute to take your translation if you need English simultaneous translation. And we just need a second to switch some things, to change to Polish. Dobrze, i teraz przechodzimy na naszą polską prezentację. Zapraszam serdecznie Karolinę Nowacką z Ośrodka Kultury imienia Cypriana.
Our speaker is Karolina Nowacka, who's gonna tell us a few words.
Już wszyscy byli na ciebie przygotowani.
Everybody was ready for you, and now we'll be talking about how to have an inclusive movie club in a cinema.
Dzień dobry, witam.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having me here. I'm Karolina. I'm 44. I'm of medium height and medium build. I have dyed blonde hair. I'm wearing a red sweatshirt, dark pants and white sneakers. I represent the Cyprian Kamil Norwid Culture Center. I want to show to you how to have a movie club which is inclusive and interesting.
Okay. Dobrze. Okay.
Okay, in the picture. Okay, so now you've seen my whole presentation. I think it's too complicated for me here. Let me show you what this looks like. Our culture center is based in a block of flats, so accessibility was part of our DNA from the start. the movie club is part of the Sphinx cinema, and this is the cinema itself is part of the culture center. I started work in 2013 in a debating club. We opened a small movie theater in our cinema. Could anybody please help me? Right. Our small room can sit 24 people. We can change the sitting arrangement at will to offer the most comfortable conditions for our audiences. We apply a circle. We sit in a circle and talk about the movie we have seen. We started to think more carefully about inclusivity when my colleague from another department of the Culture Center approached me and said that we should empower kids in the debate about the cinema world, the movie world, which is often defined for the kids by movie critics. We wanted to reverse reverse the roles so that kids might feel more comfortable because oftentimes kids are under a lot of pressure, and it's the kids who are the target audience of the movies. During a festival that is held in our cinema, it's the kids who are the jurors selecting the best movie. We've been through a lot. The kids know that not everyone should and must take place in the debate. They should feel all right, and even those kids who are very introvert open up. In 2023, after a number of training modalities on accessibility, and after my first visit here, during the first Forum Without Barriers, we bought equipment for audio description. We decided to hold screenings for the blind and partially blind individuals. It was important for me to have this joint experience. We invite AD specialists who evaluate ADs of given movies, and seeing people have first-hand contact with visually impaired individuals, seeing that, and they can also see that AD does not in any way distract them in their film experience. We want the blind and partially blind people to receive information on who the author of a given AD is. Some distributors don't offer this information. My hat is off to Magda Marcin from Gutek Film Distributors. Thanks to her, the blind and partially blind individuals are more aware of what they are part of. We launched 2 years ago. We launched screenings for persons with intellectual disabilities. Mateusz spoke a lot about this before me. Daria Kaniczak is the coordinator and co-author of this festival. He's also very much involved in the movie debating society. This debating club was extremely popular, and there was a big demand. So these debates were a staple of our activities. What's important, what persons with disabilities treasure, is that such meetings are not only for film experts. We need to have educators or therapists. Darek himself is a therapist. We widely consulted these screenings with self-advocacy groups and carers of persons with disabilities. These screenings are adequately moderated by educators and experts who know good and well the community of persons with disabilities. Persons with intellectual disabilities also have a number of disabilities, but they also have a lot of they have a good sense of humor, and altogether it's a good laugh. We think about accessibility in the context of in a holistic manner. Accessibility is covers a lot of ground. We talk here architectural accessibility, social relational accessibility. We are lucky, as I was saying, to have both movie theaters on the ground floor. We installed railing on the wall. We have a big room, a big movie theater, and a smaller one. We use the smaller room for the actual debate, and the bigger theater for the screening proper. In 2025, we started to have a movie debating society for persons on the spectrum of autism. We have dimmed light, soft carpeting, so that it's a comfy space for the kids. Then we talk with the parents. The kids want carers to stay with them. The debate is moderated by a therapist. We treasure information and communication. We have all graphics are accompanied by simplified language explanations. And thanks to the Institute of Film Art, in the case of screenings with AD, we want the blind to be offered exactly the same opportunities as seeing individuals. We add information on how to reach us, where the rooms are. We have information on the lighting. We append a map of the cinema and offer assistance. We have tickets for a mere 25 cents for the companions of the users. Okay, now I can show you what we have here. This is the Movie Debating Society. We have kids aged about 5 to 10. Some of the kids have raised their hands. This snapshot shows you a movie debating society for seeing people for the blind and partially blind. There are a number of us, a number of adults, both men and women, sipping on their tea and devouring good cookies. This is myself and Darek. We are seated on a comfy sofa. Our hands are open in a welcoming gesture. What is important for us is that we try to offer a space that is welcoming to whoever cares to visit us. Let me tell you, however, that without our accessibility team, we have in our culture center, we have a coordinator, an accessibility coordinator in the culture center, and each department has its own has a person in charge of accessibility issues, because having just one guy for the whole institution is unrealistic. Inspiration is also important. Inspiration by those who have learned a lot about accessibility. I have already experienced some crises related to my work. However, thanks to the people I have around, I've been able to overcome the rough patches. I believe that what you do here, what all individuals involved in accessibility, we would miss a lot. We want to have inclusive debating societies for the deaf and hard of hearing, and debating societies for kids. It's important that film education and that we are on the same page here. I may not have raised all the issues I wanted, I had hoped, but I do hope you have gotten the gist of what's important. Thank you. Thank you, Karolina. Sorry for the delay in your presentation, which only built up the tension. Everybody waited for the pictures to finally be shown on the screen. The next presentation is going to be in English. If you want to be listening to interpretation into Polish, please get hold of the headset. Thank you.
And for the last case study of this panel, I invite Melanie Iredale, who you had a chance to meet before, from Reclaim Deframe UK, to tell us about creating safer spaces for cinema.
So, when the films that we present sometimes contain distressing themes or scenes and can lead to hard post-screening conversations, what can we do to hold our audiences with care? That's what I'm going to speak to over the next 20 minutes. As was said, my name is Melanie, pronoun she, her, director of Reclaim the Frame. Let me just briefly describe myself. I'm a short white woman with long blonde hair, wearing all black, black-rimmed glasses, and red lipstick. And Reclaim the Frame, as it says up here, we're the UK's leading campaign for gender justice in cinema. And alongside our training, mentoring, research, and advocacy initiatives, we work across the kind of distribution exhibition space to promote a number of titles around the year, international titles, but working across the UK with a network of cinemas to promote new films, new releases that are written or directed by women or marginalized gender filmmakers. I'm just going to touch very briefly on our values as a values-led organization, just to point primarily to this first one around our intersectional approach. And this is just a snapshot of some of our titles that we've supported over the last few years. You can see on there Mother Vera, Brides, Marley Matlin, How to Have Sex. And I have to say, not all of our titles contain distressing or potentially distressing themes or scenes. We also promote comedies and genre movies, and in fact I think it's really important to be promoting films by women and marginalized gender filmmakers to make the films that they want to make, and not only ones that have a kind of social impact agenda. But that is by and large behind, those themes do exist in a lot of the films that we support. How to Have Sex, for example, some of you might have seen. It's a film about a group of teenagers who go away on holiday for the first time without kind of parental supervision. They throw caution to the wind after they've completed their school exams. Something happens to the young woman, the main character. She's assaulted. She knows that something has happened that was not okay. She knows in her body that it was wrong, but she doesn't necessarily have the language for what happened to her. Like, that language doesn't exist in the film. And so for us at Reclaim the Frame, we felt it really important to bring that language into the post-screening conversations and to hold those conversations with a great deal of care. And this is the kind of thing I'm going to be talking about, but in relation to a film called An Army of Women. And just to touch briefly first on the audiences that we bring together. So we operate in like 16 cities around the UK. We have a diverse slate. And put simply, a diverse slate of films attracts a diverse audience. You can see that 26% of our audience is a global majority, 55% self-identify as deaf, disabled, neurodivergent. And so with bringing together, diverse audiences with like a really kind of wealth, a huge kind of range of lived experience, comes also a responsibility in welcoming audiences that for us, a third of them are new to the cinema that we've brought them into. And so it feels like it comes for us with a responsibility to make them feel welcome and included, and particularly what I'm going to speak to is safe. So on to An Army of Women. And I can't talk any further about An Army of Women without giving a content note for what I'm about to speak about, which is in itself content notes. And just to say that An Army of Women, it contains really difficult themes. It's a landmark story about women challenging systemic injustice. themes of trauma as well as empowerment and solidarity. And we were screening for people who we knew that this film would speak to. And that film speaks to themes of sexual assault, of rape, and of survival. It's about a group of women in Austin, Texas, who file a lawsuit against law enforcement for failing to prosecute against those who sexually assaulted them. And so we knew that in bringing together audiences for this film, we knew that we might be speaking to survivors, friends and family of survivors, and also, you know, those who love them and those who work with them. And so it's that responsibility that I'm going to be speaking to. So if this is something that, you know, at any point you feel like you want to duck out, you feel like you want to take a breath, this is not something that you are just feeling is what you're here for today, right now, that's okay. Please feel free. But for those who are happy to continue, we're going to screen the trailer, please.
"15 years is a really long time. The story was shocking and infuriating, but I also knew it wasn't the only one.
There's my handprints, a scratch on my thigh where my pants were cut open. They never believed me at any point in it.
Law enforcement is allowing rapists to remain free because of inaction. That is the message coming from a federal lawsuit.
Nationally, fewer than 1% of reported cases result in a felony conviction.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what laws you make if no one enforces them. The only laws they're not enforcing are the ones that impact female victims of rape.
It's not about me. It's about something much bigger. The decisions you make in this room change people's lives forever. I know this, my husband knows this, and my kids know this all too well.
I can't use my real name because my rapist is still free.
You have a security bar on this one?
Yeah, I have a security bar on both.
The case will be dismissed on Wednesday.
I've been fighting this for so long, and it feels like everything I do is not enough.
Do you give up, or do you double down?
So to summarize, it's basically attack on all fronts.
Council members, it's beginning to feel like the plan is to break us, but we aren't going anywhere. This is our lives. Like, we've invested so much into this lawsuit.
It is important to understand that this is the beginning. And that there's an army of women that are really here trying to fight for change.
So it's an incredible film. If you haven't had the chance to see it, it's a Norwegian-US production. By Julie Lund Lillesæter, and it's a film that really bears its audience in mind in terms of its approach to dealing with the subject matter and the characters, the real people, the real women who are survivors in Austin, Texas, and follows their case and ultimately their plight for justice. And so we felt secure in knowing that those who watched the film would hopefully feel kind of safe within the content of it, but it was for us to help those audiences to feel safe within the context of it. You know, how do we help people feel that if they come to see this film, they will be, you know, feel welcome and safe and included, and like they could contribute to the conversation in a way that felt safe for them. So we had two starting points for working on this film, and it's a collaboration with Together Films, who are the sales agent and the UK distributor. They specialize in social impact cinema. And they brought in, from the very offset, a partner in Rape Crisis, which in the UK is like our leading kind of charity or NGO that supports survivors of rape and sexual assault, that provides support lines, that helps them through criminal justice cases, and that advocates for the eradication of violence, domestic violence, violence against women and girls, and so on. Our second point of call was to go to the BBFC as a kind of reference point. So the British Board of Film Classification, I'm sure there is a Polish equivalent, and whilst we, you know, we might, in some cases, challenge the BBFC on some things. It is a useful starting point. I will come on to that, but it's a useful starting point for seeing how they've rated the film. And not only that, because that's obviously quite, gives us very little information, but we can go onto their site for more information and see, for example, how they have broken down how the film addresses the subject of violence, for example. So here it says at the top, a woman recalls being attacked, describing violence she suffered. And if we skip to the bottom, how it's addressed sexual violence and sexual threat. Victims of sexual violence describe their attacks as well as their experiences and mental health in the aftermath. There is condemnation of all sexual violence and positive reassurances. One of the reasons why we're supporting the film in the first place. Now, when I say we sometimes, you know, we come to the BBFC site sometimes with, I don't know, a challenging eye, is because we're very conscious of the implicit bias sometimes there. And also, you'll notice that, you know, it's using words like sexual assault and so on, but it's not naming rape. And I think as a feminist organization, it is really, really important to call these things what they are, and also, more importantly, to be responsible for being open about what it is that the film is discussing. So I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about inclusion measures in terms of pre-screening. How did we go about introducing the film and contextualizing the distressing and potentially distressing themes and scenes? And post-screening, how did we facilitate post-screening conversations in a way that felt safe or safer? So, pre-screening, marketing. Being super clear about what the film is about. The ad, you know, the trailer that you saw does not shy away from what the film is about, and I think that is, you know, we feel that really keenly as a sort of, you know, in between kind of distribution, exhibition, is to be really clear with audiences, not only by providing content notes, but where possible within the synopsis, being really clear and upfront about what the film is discussing and what the themes are. We will sometimes add a content note or content warning, however you want to call it, if the film speaks to something that is not clear from the synopsis. But either way, regardless, one of our key points is to make it consistent. This should be, you know, in the press release, it's on the website, it's in all of the marketing materials. And really importantly for us, because I do feel like this sometimes gets forgotten, is not only do we make it really clear what the film is about at the point of sale, but also in invitations to industry guests. You know, how often do those of us who are programmers or who are being invited to previews because we're part of the industry get missed in terms of things like thinking about content notes? You know, we're humans too. We might also want the heads up as to what it is that we're going to see, and I do find that sometimes gets missed. So in email invitations, don't expect people to cross-reference with the website. And here you can see, I'm just saying that we made clear here in the synopsis what the film was about. then I'm going to detail slightly, but I'm just going to come to one way of presenting content notes that I really kind of admire and appreciate. This isn't ours. I think like many things around access and inclusion, I personally look to queer film festivals and queer film organizations, particularly like grassroots. You know, what is it they're doing? Because 9 times out of 10, they're 3 leaps ahead of us. I really do think so. So I'm going to give a shout out to Leeds Queer Film Festival in the north of England, where I'm from. And you can imagine that with queer film festivals, they deal with so much content and films that are about, yes, about queer joy, but so often also about trauma and just, you know, the lived realities of what the queer community faces. And so one of the things that they do in how they present their content notes and also maybe what we could call the safe zones is they'll say, you know, this is like a thunderstorm emoji. This film, it's not an army of women, it's something else. Mild sex, one recounting of child abuse, and then sunshine emoji, tender masculinity, interesting portrait of daily life. So here's the heads up of what it might contain that is potentially harmful. But also here is why you should see it, because this film has handled this topic with care. So let's apply that to an army of women. We might have said thunderstorm emoji, frequent and multiple recountings of rape and abuse. Sunshine emoji, it's about female friendship, solidarity, empowerment, and justice. So then when we come on to, we've got to the event, we're in the screening room, we're setting the tone, we're being upfront about the distressing themes and scenes, we're letting the audience know that they can take a breather. At Reclaim the Frame screenings, always, if people want to move around, if people want to make verbal takes, if people want to take a breather, if they want to go make use of the quiet space or not, we just make sure that people know that they are welcome to do that. Now, with this screening, we had a member of Rape Crisis actually in the quiet room. I mean, not that people had to talk to them if they wanted to just make use of the quiet, but that they were really welcome to speak with somebody who was trained in dealing with disclosures and people experiencing trauma. Skip to the post-screening conversation. So the film has wrapped. Reclaim the Frame screenings, we always invite reflections on the film as well as questions. We always, we like to consider who those questions or reflections are coming from. So, you know, we'll ask the audience to put their hands up. You know, statistically, if it's been proven that in a Q&A, if you go to a man first, the women will statistically put their hands down and you'll be less likely to hear from one. So always kind of considering, like, who do we want to hear from, whose voices may be underrepresented here, who might be bringing lived experience, who, you know, and so on. And then the thing that we had to train the team for was to consider disclosures, especially for the person moderating. Now, again, in this case, we had Rape Crisis, a member of Rape Crisis, like a staff member on the panel alongside the filmmaker. But as moderators of the conversation, we also needed to be trained in how to consider that people in the audience might be so moved by the film that they might choose to share some of their own story. And trained in how to, you know, listen, first of all, to acknowledge the story, to thank them for sharing and to acknowledge what has been shared and, you know, the harm or the unjust nature of what has been shared, and to mirror their language. You know, if somebody is recounting a story and they say they're telling a story and they're saying that they were abused, then that is the language that, you know, you're mirroring back. And then at the end of the conversation, important to what we call close it, like to bring it full circle, to acknowledge again what has been shared, to thank people for what has been shared, to signpost, to support and resources. This is an image of just a table with leaflets and information from Rape Crisis and other organizations that were local to, I think we're in Liverpool. But yeah, just so that people can feel like they have somewhere to go. If it's, you know, if it's triggered for them, they can just be directed to somebody who can help and who, importantly, is trained to be able to help. And then, how do we get better without encouraging feedback? Sorry, I just need like another 10 seconds. Feedback is really, really important. And this is the feedback that we got, and I know I'm over time, so I'm not going to read it all out, but I guess just to say, you know, what people told us as a result of touring with an army of women around the UK was it made me feel part of something, felt included, how sensitively it was handled, the inclusive atmosphere. I love the effort you put into welcoming everyone. It felt intimate and hosted in a really wonderful way. And this is the impact in stats. I guess if that's the impact in words, this is the impact in stats in terms of who came. So 34% of audiences who came to see An Army of Women had not been to their local independent cinema before. Far more hadn't been in the last year. And I won't read out the other ones, but I think the 96% really stands out for me. 96% of people who rarely go to cultural events, let alone cultural cinema events, and who reported usually feeling excluded, reported feeling included within the context of Reclaim the Frame presentations of An Army of Women. I'm gonna stop there. I'm really sorry, I'm over. But thank you very much. Dziękuję. I'm sorry. Thank you everyone.
That was a very great dziękuję. And also you can stay here and maybe you will tell us more because we still have some time for the Q&A session. So I will invite our other panelists, Karolina Nowacka and Jorgen Stensland. Jorgen, I know you waited for it. Yeah, so you can all sit here on the stage and our amazing audience can be ready with their questions. If you have questions for any of our panelists, feel free to raise your hand and we will come to you with the microphone and you will get your answer. Okay, I see in the front row, there's a question.
Preferably in Polish, please. Okay, my question would be directed to two persons. Jorgen, I wanted to ask you, since I'm very keen to the relaxed screenings and relaxed performance as an idea, and we do similar initiatives here in Poland, but I think that one tremendous change you have covered was the introduction of the shush-free zone. And I say that also as a mother of a daughter who is in the autism spectrum. That is one element that I personally lack during many presentations in cinema houses and theaters, and I'm a big fan of the shush-free format. And one thing that raises many questions in cinematic or theatrical context is how do members of quote-unquote regular audience are receiving that,
okay,
or how do you prep them for
translate
not
the first
shushing
question
anybody
is for Jorgen,
in the audience?
Because I will translate as Justyna. I really love the idea of relaxed screenings. As a mother of an autistic child, I feel like it's very important, but I wanted to ask, how do you cope in those shush-free zones where people shouldn't be shushed or silenced? How do you cope with people who do not understand that, maybe don't need that kind of zone? How do you explain the idea to them?
How do you convince the audience that it's okay?
Excuse me. Well, we are quite adamant about that's the core thing about the screenings themselves. So, of course, we talk about it in the information we send to them before the screenings, but also from stage before we start the screening. And so it won't come as any surprise. And there are open. These are open screenings, so other people can come in. But we haven't had one bad review yet. So I think it's working quite beautifully.
Melanie, a question to you. Maybe, except for including information about sensitive content, do you do any extra guides or mental health first aid? Do you offer that? Are there any good practices surrounding these screenings that you think you could share and that come to mind?
Hi, thank you. I guess in this case, with an army of women, which I guess we put these additional measures in place because of the quite exceptional nature of what the film was about. It was really the staff members of Rape Crisis who provided the aid. So if somebody chose to leave the screening, there was somebody who would, basically who would check in with them. I guess there's a level to which I feel comfortable that I can do more good than harm in how I respond to situations with the audience, or I facilitate conversations. And then there's a level beyond where it's like, well, I might have had some, I am mental health first aid trained, but I'm not a specialist. And so I think bringing in Rape Crisis, which I should say was a partnership from the beginning through Together Films, the sales agent. We cannot take credit for getting Rape Crisis on board. It's just that they were brought on board to sort of help promote the film and to be able to signpost people to services. And what we brought them in to do in the kind of interim period was to basically go on tour with us and to be part of the events. So I think probably what I learned from that was kind of like, know our limits in terms of when to bring in specialists. But I would say that the support that we offered was more kind of signposting to Rape Crisis and other similar charities doing similar things. It wasn't only them, but they were the main partner. Through, our website, an Army of Women website, literature tables, and just kind of verbally at the end of each presentation. I would say that was as far as it went, rather than being able to kind of offer something afterwards, if you see what I mean.
Any other questions? Feel free to raise your hands, no worries. It's a safe space. Yeah, I see a raised hand over there. We have separate microphones for Polish and English questions, so that's why it might take a while. Go on.
I have a simple question to all three of you, and it concerns finances. Funding, in other words.
It's to all of you, so.
I have a simple question to this simple answer to this simple question. We are funded by the Polish Film Art Institute, and our own funds come from the municipal budget.
The Relæxt screenings themselves are not funded by anyone. These are paying customers. So I think we've been quite successful in getting the cinemas to understand that this is a new customer group that they can tap into. and actually increase the admissions at their cinemas. When it comes to my organization, Film&Kino, we are funded by the Norwegian Film Institute for projects. Our members pay a membership fee, and we also have sponsors.
So when we're working with a distributor to help promote a new release, those funds are coming from the distributor who are paying us out of what they make at the box office, basically. So we do also get project funding from the BFI, which is sort of time-bound and comes to an end very soon. But in the main, yeah, it's the distributors who are paying. They sometimes themselves, bearing in mind that distributors are having a very challenging time at the moment, they sometimes themselves get support from, say, national film institutes or embassies to release certain titles. An Army of Women, though it's an American story, Julie, in this case, the filmmaker was from Norway, so I'm afraid I'm going to go back again to Norwegian Film Institute actually supported the release of An Army of Women in the UK and probably in other territories as well.